Good morning, Goa. Welcome to the Good Morning Goa show with me, your host on the HCN News and Entertainment channel. The focus today in the studio here, I have Mr. Abhijit Prabhudesai, who is a member of Goa Against Coal. Welcome to the Good Morning Goa show. So, to begin with, we have seen a lot of discussion around the coal handling as far as MPD's expansion projects and everything is concerned. But even during the public hearing, what specifically is at the core of the problem?
Well, to start with is the secrecy. Let us be very clear. Neither the state government nor the central government nor even MPT or any of the other parties have ever come out and said that, hey Goans, we have a plan to increase coal handling in Goa from 12 million tons to 50 million tons. They have never said this till today. This is the biggest problem. There is complete secrecy. What it implies, normally, how do you measure corruption? It is because of secrecy. When there is, the only measure for corruption is absence of transparency. So this very clearly becomes a case of some highly corrupt, aims and behind this project. And if what really happened, I'll just take you through the background. In January 2016, Mr. Gadkari comes to Goa and inaugurates capital dredging of Vasco Bay from 14 meters to 19 meters, which is a 5-meter depth of cutting rocks and everything, which is really at the base of the entire geological stability around. The fishermen there were alarmed, obviously, because they're going to lose all their fish once the dredging takes place. They went to the National Green Tribunal, and it was found that not even an environment clearance was obtained. Mr. Gadkari came here, inaugurated the dredging without any clearances. An illegal, a big environmental crime was committed by Mr. Gadkari and MPT. And the NGT and Supreme Court rightly quashed it and asked them to do a proper study and to hold a public hearing. That was when they were forced to do a EIA study. And when the public hearing was held, it was an opportunity for the people to study the documents. And that's when we all found, to our amazement and shock, that they are planning to increase coal. It was never told by anybody. It was found through going through the documents and reading them. It was found that the entire plan was to increase coal in Goa from 12 million tons to 50 million tons. And this has been done so secretly. Even, you see, the coal handling is not just dredging of the river. It includes berth expansions at MPT. It includes further dredging of rivers Zuari, Mandavi, and other, the rivers which are being nationalized. They are going to dredge them, which means probably all our banks will collapse and khazans will get flooded unless they concretize both the sides. Convert these living rivers which form the economic base for tens of thousands, maybe lakhs of Goans. Convert them into lifeless navigation channels.
So you're saying that one project is going to affect overall state as far as fishermen, as far as the rivers, everything is concerned?
Absolutely. See, the coal will come by huge ships, will be stacked at MPT and at various places along the river banks of Zuari, Mandavi to start with, and then will be transported by road and rail to remote parts of Karnataka, where Adani and Jindal want to put up large steel plants, power plants for private profit. Now, it's not, the destruction of the fish, the fisheries will be destroyed to start with completely because of this dredging. First of all, so they lose all their, the basis of their survival, the food, everything comes from the benthic communities. Once you dredge, there is no life left in the rivers. There's no life in the rivers, we are not going to have any fish to start with. That directly will impact tens of thousands of fishermen to start with. Again, the environmental stability is lost. You lose your security against large floods and storms, because the rivers presently with mangroves and the way they are, They protect all the villages from storms. Moment you make it a navigational channel, you are exposing everybody to big time disasters. In addition, one of the biggest problems with coal is air pollution. It is known worldwide that coal dust, which is PM 2.5 and below, goes directly into our lungs. Nothing can stop it. Normally, nature has given us all kinds of protection against anything we inhale. So when we inhale, everything is blocked through various parts of our thing and don't enter our lungs. But coal has got this particular particulate matter which is below 2.5 micron, which goes into our lungs and carries with it heavy metals, arsenic, and all kinds of poisons into our system, which is proved by all kinds of research to kill people in large numbers. So in Vasco already for the last 15-20 years, people are fighting against coal pollution. What people are also not aware that the railway line which goes from Vasco to Londa, when the trains pass that track, there's coal pollution created for all the people in the villages along the railway tracks.
So before we get there, apart from the EIA report that has been prepared by the MP, any independent report that indicates that these are the issues with regard to the expansion plan, like one also is there any study with regard to the health specifically of the port town?
We have asked all the authorities. Unfortunately, there is not a single study done by any authority. Public Health, Directorate of Health, nobody has done any studies. We have inquired with doctors who say very clearly that that it's a huge problem. Over 60% of Goans are suffering from health problems due to air pollution. This has been told to us by a senior specialist on respiratory diseases, who unfortunately wouldn't want to come on record because obviously he'll be targeted. And that is the other part. There is always a conspiracy or whatever to keep the truth out of public's eye. So the fact is that Vasco is suffering tremendously. During the public hearing, we found that there are so many people who come and talk about autism in children. Autism in children is directly related to this coal dust being inhaled by pregnant mothers. There are so many people suffering from asthma. All the children in Vasco are suffering from serious respiratory diseases only because of coal. This is a known fact, but the government is hiding it, and there are no studies. You're right, there should be expert studies, but we don't have any, except the people at large, including I think even one of the MLAs who came and spoke at the hearing said that his own child is suffering from asthma. So this is not only for the poor who are affected, it's everybody who is going to suffer tremendously in terms of health to start with because of coal.
So is it then what you say, in the beginning you said it is also at the core of the issue is the secrecy that is being maintained, and is it beyond the government's will to stop this? Is there a larger conspiracy, or the government is in hand in glove with those prospective scam or corruption that you just spoke about?
It is very interesting. If you go through the EIA reports and try to find out why this is being done, the only reason the coal is being expanded in Goa is to reduce the freight charges for Adani and Jindal. See, Adani and Jindal are having steel plants in Karnataka, and they have got major expansion plans. So they are going to increase large number of steel plants, power plants in Karnataka. They have got inadequate and more than adequate infrastructure on the east coast of India, and more than enough connectivity, corridors, road and rail connecting these areas to the ports. So there is absolutely no need to destroy Goa for coal. But the only reason they are doing it is because the distances are slightly shorter, and so they can make more money out of reduced cost for transportation. I mean, it's so unbelievable that in order for just two corporations, and there might be a third one tomorrow, to make more profit, we are willing to destroy all of Goa by double tracking railway tracks, by creating this national highways 17B, 4A going up to Belgaum, destroying the Western Ghats, fragmenting it completely, destroying all our villages, making Vasco basically a ticking time bomb where everybody is in huge trouble, not just from pollution, but also there is a huge threat of a disaster taking place, because coal is self-igniting, it spontaneously burns, and there is ammonia, there is petroleum products, all these things parked in this MPT in the port city, where all over India, whether it's Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, all these dirty and hazardous cargoes have been moved out of the cities. In 2012, the 5-year plan clearly directed all the ports, including MPT, to move these things out of the city. Yet, these MPT is not only continuing with the ongoing coal, stuff, ignoring all the pollution control board stuff, but they are going ahead and planning to expand 4 times the coal handling just by MPT, for which they will have to completely take over Kharivada. All the fishermen of Kharivada have to be displaced. They will take over whole of Baina, and their plans are very clear. The MPT business plan shows this. They have to go out into the sea, reclaiming the sea, and all these projects, the impact on Goa, I mean, you lose all your fishing communities, you lose all your fish.
What is the alternative then? I'm sure when MPT says they're going to expand, obviously the government, if I say so, will have alternative plans as far as employment is concerned. So have they also, while they have maintained the secrecy, but now they will have to come on record, and have they spoken about how they're going to provide the employment to those people who would be displaced?
It's a very good question. We have asked these questions in the public hearing, and unfortunately there's absolutely no response. But for example, at Ennore, the port which was created to save Chennai, so coal and all these things are moved from Chennai to Ennore as an example. The coal handling facility apparently employs only 80 or 90 people. Just 80 or 90 people are employed for this huge coal handling facility. That is it. There is no more employment. Coal is now totally a mechanized system. You have seen at MPT also, you have all kinds of conveyor systems and mechanical systems where you don't need human intervention, don't provide any employment at all. And look at the 12th 5-year plan. It very clearly says that Goa is the ideal place for cruise tourism. MPT cannot be serving both. They got very few berths. If they go for cruise tourism, cruise ships, then they have to close down coal. None of these tourists are going to enjoy,
So on that note, also interfere, as you'll have accused that the government is in a way trying to shift the tourism sector, the tourism industry, finish the tourism industry in Goa, and helping tourism flourish in Sindhudurg.
It seems to be that the government is very clear, its aim is to destroy all employment opportunities in Goa. If a cruise ship lands in MPT, the people are going to come out to the port, they are going to shop, they are going to do the entire, I mean in the city, Vasco city's economy will increase multifold. You will see a prosperity like nothing. Instead, they are going to have coal, which is going to make all the people line up outside the doctor clinics for, and nobody is going to, the Vasco city is going to die a horrible death. So this is not for employment. What we also found was Mr. Gadkari made a statement that tourism in Goa is saturated, and now tourism should move to Sindhudurg. So if we see this entire thing, there is a very clear plan that Adani and Jindal want Goa for their to make it a coal hub. Once you make it a coal hub, tourism obviously is going to get affected. Similarly, you have real estate lobbies looking at fast money. They are constructing on hill slopes, on plateaus, which is taking away our greatest selling point, which is our natural beauty. I mean, most of the tourists who come to Goa now very clearly say, we are not going to come back because there is nothing here. There is only buildings all around now and sewage and garbage everywhere. So tourism, the whole idea is to make a quick buck out of Goa, sell it for real estate, sell it for coal.
So,
and they're looking at, obviously, Sindhudurg is a huge opportunity for people to make money. People with large amounts of money can buy land from the poor people who are oppressed there. You must understand, in Sindhudurg, the locals are highly oppressed. So, unleashing tourism on this unsuspecting population is going to completely displace them. Their problem is also, I feel, in Goa, the Goans are able to at least voice themselves. So, you will find that the fishermen and farmers who were displaced by a 5-star hotel are still hanging on as taxi drivers. Even today they are being attacked as being unfair, but these are the original residents from there who were displaced by tourism. But they fight for their rights, they fight to defend their land. This is not going to happen in Sindhudurg. There's going to be massive displacement over there. So, it's not good for them either, what's being planned.
So, while we are talking about all this, one thing also comes is sorry, if the expansion happens of MPT and the cone handling takes place, as you're saying, that the highways are being expanded, there's going to be rail tracks. The transportation system itself will also eventually provide a lot of employment, which we saw also during the times of mining, boom, when a lot of mining transportation would take place, and a lot of them invested only in trucks, only in becoming transporters. Don't you think then that is also going to help in a way the economy and people's employment?
Regarding the mining transportation, which is a separate subject, we have seen how the people are suffering from the loans. If you go to the mining belt, the locals are really in big trouble, because it should have never gone that way. It should have been the mining companies that should have taken on the liabilities. They have taken 35,000 crores and gone and left the liabilities with the poor unsuspecting tribal villager. I mean, that is completely unscrupulous and illegal, in my opinion. Banks are heavily involved in this. On the other hand, in the coal sector, the transportation opportunities will be very limited. Number one, railway will be used to transport quite a bit of the coal. Today we have a single track, 60% of the time it's used for coal. So, we don't need a second track, it's going to be built purely for coal. Now there's no employment in a coal train. Coal train has got a driver and that's it. So there is not going to be any employment. The employment created for carrying by trucks, because there's a very clear plan to take coal from MPT and from all the river banks by road to Belgaum by a 4-lane expansion of NH4A, which is being undertaken through the wildlife sanctuary, everything. It will give some employment for truck drivers, no doubt, but the amount of employment it will destroy in terms of fishermen. You see, this coal will be now placed in the paddy fields by the riverside, stacked. So, in Durbat, if you see, illegally mangroves are being cut already, and there is a 25-meter road planned through the mangrove shown on the regional plan. So, the entire places along the riverside will be coal stacking, there will be coal mountains on the riverside. You can imagine the impact of the transportation. Even if there are truck drivers employed to take that coal, he is going to drive through the villages, narrow roads of our villages, till he reaches the Ponda, wherever the highway is. And the impact on local economies, whether it is agriculture, animal husbandry, fisheries, will be unbelievable. We are going to lose thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs. Yeah, a few hundred truck drivers will be employed, but what will be the cost? What are we going to lose?
So, while we are talking about all this, there's also one question that comes to mind is the people already in the industry. I'm talking about the tourism industry per se. We have in the past accused them of taking Goa for a ride, involved in corruption, bribing officials, and getting their projects sanctioned, and putting too much pressure than the tourism could sustain in Goa.
True.
At the same time, we also see that the locals, by and large, this small people that you're talking about whose employment is at stake, have not by themselves also been able to benefit. So how does then this balance of even tourism take place? Because even in tourism we are seeing that there is corruption. Even there we are seeing there's a lot of exploitation taking place.
Absolutely. Tourism has got a lot of negativities which we have seen. You've seen growth of, casino culture and pub, what do you call it, this nightlife culture, which has got a lot of downsides. And so tourism has its problems. Yet tourism today employs a lot of people in Goa. There's no doubt that it's probably one of the biggest employers in Goa. So what we are saying is that you're talking about employment of lakhs of people, probably in the tourism industry, directly or indirectly. To lose that, only for Adani and Jindal to make money is not right. If there are problems in tourism industry, they must be resolved. We must use our own Goan economy, culture, society, whatever we have as the selling points for tourism, so that tourism does not disturb Goan culture, but actually enhances it. Tourism is something that can be a positive. So you can have wildlife tourism, you can have marine wildlife tourism, you can have tourism where people learn and do something positive. Today, however, the government is focusing on casinos, and you can see prostitution, drugs rampant. So the tourism is being pushed in the wrong direction by government policy. But we cannot forget, at the moment there are lakhs of people employed.
So, coming back to what MPD's expansion plans are and its impact. So, initially you told me about the rivers are going to be affected. If I ask you geographically from south to the north of Goa and in hinterlands, which all areas are going to be directly affected? Because we also know that there was a Betul port, a satellite port which was proposed, and it's currently on a standstill. No final word has been given on it. So, if we talk about, if it starts from Betul, for example, where MPD has its own jurisdiction, to Kortalim, so how far and large is going to be the impact of MPD's expansion?
You see, the impact will be the entire coast of Goa, because there's large number of ships bringing coal, there's always spillage, there's dust. So the impact on fisheries will be the entire coast of Goa. If you see in Australia, when the ongoing mining has already created a threat to the Great Barrier Reef, which is a World Heritage Site. So shipping creates problems for the marine life is beyond doubt. Entire coast will be affected. Like you said, of course there will be direct displacement at Betul, Baina, Kharivada, where the fishermen will be completely thrown out to occupy their spaces. But in addition, the fisheries itself will be destroyed. So this is affecting the whole coast. Then you have got the railway tracks which go from Vasco to Londa, which pass through so many villages like Kansauli, Velsam, Majorda, Margaon city, and onwards through Shandor, etc. This entire belt will be a coal corridor with massive amounts of pollution affecting people's health, affecting agriculture, affecting water resources. Because you must remember, the coal dust goes up in the air and then comes and settles down. It pollutes everything, carries with it heavy metals, highly toxic and poisonous things. So this is one thing. Then you have the highways. So you have a pure coal highway being built from Vasco to Belgaum, NH17B 4A, which will go through after Daboli, Sakwal, continue from Verna down Lotoli, go via Borim, Betoda, Kurti, Khandepar onwards, destroying all these villages with coal pollution. Then you have the rivers, River Zuari, both the banks. We saw the other day, like I mentioned to you, Durbat, and now we are investigating the regional plan, and there was always a question mark when we were studying regional plan, why are there 25-meter roads going through the khazans, going nowhere? Now it's becoming very clear that there are plans to convert these khazans into coal stacking areas, or for some other stacking, cannot be anything else, has to be coal. Government is not saying anything. not replying to our allegations, but it's very clear that all these villages along the riverside, so especially where people are maybe not that conscious, like Ponda, Shiroda, Durbat, they will be taken over by coal. Similarly, Mandavi river, all the rivers on both sides. You know, so it's, we don't know what they are going to do at Shapora, Tirakol.
So when we're looking at such a large scale of alleged destruction, what next from Goa against coal?
We are going all the way out to stop it. We are trying every way. We are written to the MLAs, our local MLAs, we written to the Ministry of Environment. We are going to engage all the authorities, you know, to try to make them see reason. You know, they are going blind with greed of two corporations. I think they should be able to see reason, but if they don't, then we will come on the streets with, and all of people, we have gone to villages, and let me tell you, it's unanimous.
Our people, because today we are seeing, you know, with so much of fast life, people really bothered about daily livelihood. Are people really going to come on the streets is a big question, which even the government probably feels will not happen. So do you think people will be on the streets for that question of existence, as you are putting it?
Absolutely. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind. If the people of Goa could come on the streets, throw the SEZs out, which is unprecedented. Government was forced to reverse the SEZ policy, again unprecedented. Regional plans were scrapped, and these were issues which were contentious. There was always the argument of employment, development. But here we have a case where there is no employment, there is no development, it's only private profit of two corporations. I have no doubt entire population of Goa will come out on the streets on this one.
Okay, on that note, I thank you, Mr. Abhijit, for joining us this morning on the Good Morning Goa show, and I hope the fight for being on the right side will ultimately give victory to those who are on the right side, and the government especially plays its role, comes clear as to exactly what are these expansion plans all over the state which are being proposed, right from highways to double tracking, roads being constructed within the interiors of our villages. Government needs to respond to the clear call made by the villagers as well as concerned citizens of the state. On that note, I thank you viewers for joining us this morning on HCN on the Good Morning Goa show. Until tomorrow when I'm here once again with yet another guest, keep watching HCN.